I know that you were the first, one of the first ones at Clive's party to speak about Whitney's passing the other day.
Yes.
And that was, did you know her well?
Yes, I did. I actually, when I was growing up in the music industry before I had success, I somehow got on her wedding invitation.
Why does Diddy's name keep popping up whenever there's talk of bizarre celebrity deaths and strange behavior in Hollywood? Lately, people are digging deep into his old interviews. And now they're saying if you really pay attention to how he spoke about Whitney Houston, it's like he knew something wasn't right. And guess what? All these whispers and suspicions seem to connect back to one major player. You probably already know who that is. Here's the wild part. Whitney Houston passed away right before Clive Davis's iconic pre-Grammy bash. And what did Clive do? He kept the party going downstairs while Whitney's body was still upstairs in a bathtub. That ain't just disrespectful, it's disturbing. Why wasn't Clive Davis, the very man who discovered Whitney, completely shaken? Why was he so chill about it? Now here comes Diddy. Could he be tied to something bigger? Something the public isn't supposed to know? Some folks think there's a secret system running deep in the entertainment world. One that protects the powerful and buries the truth. If that's real, then what kind of role is Diddy really playing in all this? But it doesn't stop there. Things get even messier when you listen to Bobby Brown. He's been loud and clear. He believes there was foul play not just in Whitney's death, but in their daughter Bobby Christina's too. And the name he keeps bringing up, Nick Gordon, Chrissy's ex. Bobby said it multiple times. He thinks Nick had something to do with both tragedies. But if you listen close to the whispers going around, Bobby might think there's more to it than just Nick Gordon. There's talk that this whole setup runs way deeper than most people want to admit. This whole situation runs way deeper than just Nick Gordon. And now Whitney Houston's name is getting dragged right into the middle of the legal mess. There's clearly a lot that hasn't been said yet, and people are starting to talk. Diddy's former assistant, Capricorn Clark, even brought up Whitney and Mariah Carey during her courtroom testimony. Let's break it down. Capricorn said she thought Cassie had talent, but not the kind that could blow the roof off a stage. When Diddy's lawyer pressed her on what she meant by that, asking why she didn't think Cassie was very talented, Capricorn made it crystal clear. She said, "Talent to me is Whitney Houston. Mariah Carey. Very talented is that level of performer, entertainer." Then she threw in that Cassie was more of a studio artist, someone who needed those polished vocals and proper engineering. Basically, she was saying Cassie wasn't built for the stage, more like someone who felt safer inside the vocal booth. That's a bold thing to say under oath. But Whitney's name didn't just come up once. It popped up again when Diddy's lawyer grilled Cassie about a night back in February 2012, the same time Whitney died. The lawyer asked if Cassie remembered the night Diddy allegedly OD'd on opiates, and Cassie confirmed that night was wild. She said, "I believe so. That evening we had a freak-off." Yeah, you heard that right, a freak-off.
Diddy and Davis, have they ever had anything past business? Because to me, they seem to mirror each other behavior-wise. Like to me, they both got like that dark energy around them. But I almost wonder, like, well, damn, did they ever have anything? Well, I just wondered that, man, because they're very.
She went on to explain they hit up a club in San Bernardino, then ended up at a party at the Playboy Mansion. After that, she went home. But here's the kicker. Diddy had apparently taken something super strong. He told her it was a heavy opioid, and they didn't know what was going on, so they rushed him to the hospital. And all of this happening around the exact time Whitney Houston passed. Something's not adding up here. Honestly, nobody really knows why Whitney's name came up like that in court. But one thing's for sure, folks ain't buying that it was just some random coincidence. People are convinced there's more to the story. And now the streets are buzzing again, digging deeper into any possible link Diddy might have had to Whitney's death. Allegedly, there might actually be something there. You probably remember how Whitney was found, unresponsive, submerged in the bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. The official reports ruled it an accidental drowning, but it didn't sit right with a lot of people. Toxicology results showed she had a small amount of Coca-Cola in her system, but that wasn't all. They also found traces of weed, Xanax, and other stuff too. The story goes that Whitney might have had a heart attack, possibly triggered by hardened arteries, which caused her to pass out and drown. But here's the part that makes people raise their eyebrows. The coroner didn't find any solid proof of a heart attack. That whole heart failure narrative could have just been a convenient cover story. What the autopsy did show was that Whitney had mild heart disease and a bit of blockage in one artery. Nothing wild, something that's actually pretty common in longtime smokers. So the idea that she collapsed from a sudden heart attack? That ain't what the report said. And about the Coca-Cola levels? The coroner noted she used some, but it wasn't a heavy dose. Not enough to cause a full-on meltdown. That just adds to the confusion. If the drugs weren't extreme and there was no cardiac event, then what really happened that night? Something about this whole thing smells off. And the fact that Diddy's name keeps swirling around it? Yeah, people are definitely connecting dots. Was Diddy just trying to attach himself to Whitney's legacy after she passed? For clout? That's what a lot of folks are starting to wonder. Why would someone Whitney reportedly didn't trust suddenly act like they were tight once she couldn't speak for herself? Here's where it gets extra twisted, because allegedly, the real link between Diddy and Whitney isn't personal at all. It might go back to the man some call Diddy's master. CD. This dude is known to have serious power in the entertainment world. He's built legends from the ground up, but just as quickly, he's been accused of tossing them aside the moment they stop serving the system. So the big question is, was Whitney considered a threat to that system? Could she have been planning to expose something major? And if so, did CD, possibly with Diddy's help, make a dark decision that night at the Beverly Hilton? It sounds wild. But to a lot of people watching from the outside, it's not impossible. Especially considering all the whispers about Diddy's close relationship with CD. Now here's where it gets real murky. There have been rumors that CD allegedly took advantage of the young men he mentored. And yes, people have even speculated about what might have gone down between CD and Diddy behind closed doors.
That happened.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight. And then the next thing you know, she's dead.
I want the world to know that Bobby Christina did not die from the bathtub incident. That's not what killed Bobby Christina.
What killed Bobby Christina?
Bobby Christina was starved to death.
We're not talking surface-level gossip either. CD has openly spoken about being bisexual. In his memoir, The Soundtrack of My Life, he admitted to being in 2 long-term monogamous relationships with men, lasting over 2 decades. This ain't no rumor. He said it himself. So when you put all of that together, a powerful industry puppet master, shady connections, unspoken secrets, and Whitney's mysterious death, people are definitely connecting the dots. And the picture they're painting is dark. CD even wrote in his own memoir that his first intimate experience with a man happened back in the wild days of Studio 54 during the late 70s. And that wasn't some ghost-written section. He made sure he personally wrote that part of the book himself. That alone shows how much he wanted to control the story around his past. Now let's talk about how CD actually crossed paths with Diddy. In an episode of Rock and Roll High School with Pete Gang Bark, CD spilled some real behind-the-scenes tea about how he and Diddy linked up in the first place. Back then, Diddy, just 23 years old, told CD something bold, that hip-hop didn't belong stuck in its lane. It deserved to be on the top 40 charts. He said the game was gonna shift, and the business would have to change with it. CD didn't fully get the vision right away, but he was open to hearing Diddy out. He said Puffy had something different about him. He had drive, street sense, and a real eye for what was next. CD remembered thinking about the legends he already had on his roster. Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, Whitney Houston. He was in control of some of the most iconic voices ever. But with labels like LaFace dropping blue-collar R&B at full force, CD could tell a new wave was coming. Hip-hop was about to take over. And he knew he needed someone who was deep in the culture to help him ride that wave. He said, "You gotta know what you can do for yourself, and you gotta know when it's time to lean on somebody else." And based on everything that's unfolded since, that partnership between CD and Diddy might have been way deeper than anyone realized. Diddy walked in and played Craig Mack's Flava in your ear, then followed it up with 4 or 5 unreleased tracks from Notorious B.I.G. That's what sealed the deal. CD admitted on the podcast that after hearing those tracks, he was sold. He told Diddy, "Okay, you proved your point." That's when he brought Diddy into the building, into what they called the singles meeting, and introduced him to an executive as the guy who could connect them straight to the streets. But here's where things take a darker turn. From everything that's been floating around online, it seems like Diddy didn't just earn that support through talent alone. He might have paid a heavy price for CD to back him. The rumor mill's been spinning for years, and it's always pointed to one thing. CD allegedly funded the launch of Bad Boy Entertainment and kept it going with financial support for years. But in exchange, Diddy may have had to hook up with him. That's not all. According to growing whispers, the real price might have been even bigger than just physical favors. There's a theory gaining serious traction that CD's protection came with strings attached. And those strings allegedly turned Diddy into something far more sinister. Word is, Diddy became the enforcer, the one handling CD's dirty work behind closed doors. We're talking about cleaning up industry messes, making problems disappear, and shutting people down before they could ever speak out.
Do you approach that?
He knows what happened. I don't know what happened that night, but he does.
You walk through that door and you see her much like you saw Whitney.
It was literally, it was a nightmare all over.
If this theory is even half true, then Diddy wasn't just a music mogul on the rise. He was allegedly playing the role of fixer, protector, and maybe even executioner in a world way darker than anybody imagined. Some folks out here seriously believe that Diddy's dark role as the fixer didn't just stop at cleaning up scandals. It might have extended to removing people who became threats to the system, people like Whitney Houston. And if you've been paying attention, Bobby Brown's been screaming without screaming for years. In interviews, his books, even his breakdowns on camera, Bobby's been throwing out breadcrumbs like he's been dying to say something, but can't say it directly. It's like he's carrying the weight of a truth nobody wants to hear out loud. From the way he talks, it's almost as if he knows what really went down with Whitney. And he's been trying to warn everybody without putting a target on his own back. The pain, the rage, the guilt, it's all right there in plain sight. And here's where it gets even heavier, because Bobby Brown didn't just lose Whitney. He lost their daughter, Bobby Christina, under eerily similar circumstances. Same kind of setup. Found in a bathtub, unresponsive, surrounded by unanswered questions. That's not just coincidence, that's a pattern. And people have been pointing that out for years. Bobby said with his chest that he believes both deaths were no accident. He's made it clear that Nick Gordon had a hand in it. But many believe Bobby's also hinting at something way bigger. Like maybe Nick was just a pawn, someone being used by more powerful people behind the scenes. And when you circle back to all the Diddy talk, the parties, the hospital trips, the eerie timing, the court testimonies, it starts to feel like this ain't just one man's bad luck. It's a web, a setup, a machine built to protect certain people while burying others, sometimes literally. Now let's not forget. Right after Whitney died, people were shocked to see the party downstairs still going full swing. Her body was upstairs in a hotel tub, and the music kept blasting. No pause, no silence, just vibes, champagne, and cameras. Like nothing happened.
I know that you were the first, one of the first ones at Clive's party to speak about Whitney's passing the other day.
Yes.
And that was, did you know her well?
Yes, I did. I actually, when I was growing up in the music industry before I had success, I somehow got on her wedding invitation. So I was at her wedding, but I didn't really know her, but it was like the hottest thing in town for the music industry, but I didn't crash the party somehow. you know, I was a hustler. I got my name on there, me plus one. I went there, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm at Whitney Houston's wedding.
And who was at the center of that party energy? The same people who supposedly loved her the most. If Bobby knows what really happened, and he's been forced to stay silent, it makes sense why he's always been so emotional when her name comes up. It's not just grief, it's frustration, maybe even fear. Because when it comes to the truth about Whitney and Bobby Christina, the deeper you dig, the darker it gets. And here's the part that's sending chills down people's spine. Because this theory doesn't stop with Whitney and Bobby Christina. Some are now looking at a string of celebrity deaths and asking the same question. Were they silenced too? From Kim Porter to Heavy D to Andre Harrell, the names connected to Diddy seem to carry a trail of tragedy, and fans are starting to notice. Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's kids, was found dead in her home in 2018. Cause of death? Pneumonia. Suddenly, at just 47 years old. But people who were close to her say she was healthy, active, and had no reason to suddenly drop like that. And here's the twist. She had reportedly been writing a tell-all memoir, a book that never saw the light of day. Then there's Heavy D, a close friend of Diddy's who died from a pulmonary embolism. Again, unexpected. And let's not forget Andre Harrell, Diddy's mentor, the man who gave him his big break, also gone way too soon. All natural causes, they say. But with everything going on around Diddy now, folks are giving those natural causes a second look. People are asking, is this all just tragic coincidence? Or is there something way more sinister going on behind the curtain? Because the deeper these investigations go, the more people are starting to connect the dots, and they ain't liking what they're seeing. If even half of these rumors are true, it paints a chilling picture of what's really been happening in the background of the music industry. Silence, secrets, and a whole lot of people who just happened to die when they were ready to talk. Something's not right, and people are finally starting to say it out loud. People love to call Bobby Brown crazy for the things he said over the years. But what if he's been right this whole time? What if all those emotional rants, those cryptic interviews, and painful breakdowns were really warnings nobody took seriously? Me? I'm still trying to process all these wild allegations. Diddy, his so-called master, the mystery around Whitney. It's a lot. But what do you think? Was Bobby Brown trying to tell us the truth this whole time? Do you see the pattern too? Is there really a hidden link between Diddy, CD, and Whitney's tragic end? I need to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments below. And yo, if you're into deep dives like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more shocking stories on the way, so hit that bell and stay tapped in. See you on the next one.